Hi everyone, welcome to Trail Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Shimmons. Thank you for joining us once again for another news and gossip in trail and ultra running show. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But it is what it is. We're here to react to whatever's happening in our sport, give you our hot takes, have a bit of fun with it. This week, I'm joined by the OGs again, Brian, Troy, and Ricki, and we're going to dive into the various things that have happened in our sport this week. We got to come back and touch on Ultra Trail Cape Town because somebody may have done well in free trail fantasy, saying nothing. We've got a ton of other stories to dive into, so without further delay, let's get on with the show. All right, guys, back for another show. We've got lots to talk about this week from the world of trail and ultra running. I think we should start off with Ultra Trail Cape Town. I think everyone wants to know how we did. Anyone confident about their fantasy free trail position? Brian? No? You struck out. You hit the ground.
Yeah, definitely missed on that one.
Troy, what about you? How did you do?
I mean, as the host of the Mid-Packer pod, I'm also a solid mid-packer when it comes to picking fantasy free trail, and I feel like I did. Some of my picks were okay, but man, I really threw, as we talked about in the last show, I definitely threw some shit on the wall, and definitely did not come out on top. I think my Addy Bracey pick definitely has got egg on my face. So
yeah, Addy didn't even start.
I know.
Was she even in Cape Town? I have no idea. I didn't go and check her socials. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know why she didn't start, but I was definitely when I looked at the entries list Saturday when I was following the on the website, I was just like, where's my girl at? Like, this is my number 2 podium. Where is she? I was kind of like bummed because I should have picked Corinne Malcolm because at least she came from the back and like managed to put together a pretty good showing, all things considered. But yeah, I don't know. Like I was high on Anthony. He did okay. I really thought he was just going to blaze the course, but I think the Chalk Boys came out on top here with their picks at Ultra Trail Cape Town. So
Brian, what are your takeaways from your picks and how the race unfolded, or any themes really coming out of Cape Town from the weekend that you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fun. Go around and do a little mock draft on who we wanted to pick for fantasy free trail. I got to salute my boys, Aaron and Ricki. You guys certainly brought it home in strong fashion, not just among the 4 of us, but I think across the actual full free trail fantasy competition. So not afraid to applaud you guys. Well done. But I don't know. Cape Town, I think for me, it's always going to be just kind of a reactive event. I don't know that I necessarily was excited other than our competition to see how we were doing to tune in on the rankings. So from an entertainment perspective, it's something that will be on the calendar and I'll check the results on iRunFar or maybe once or twice throughout the day, but I'm not going to be glued to the coverage like I would be for maybe some other major events throughout the year. So yeah, I mean, I think everybody that we thought would be near the podium was there at some point during the race, and then the usual suspects rose to the top and put in a good finish. So good to see Caleb on the men's side get on the podium. I think that's probably the best pick that I had in relationship to the men's and women's field. So I'll pat myself on the back for that one and turn it over to you guys to finish up what you guys thought about Cape Town. But otherwise, it was fun. We got to mix it up.
Caleb, that was maybe one of the breakout runs. He really sort of he had a great race. He was strong from start to finish. I remember watching the live stream, and it was about 41 kilometer aid station, and he came in with Tebow, and they both, that frantic, like, just like scatterness of an 8, like panic stations. They both come in like that at 40k, and Tabo definitely looked a little bit more worse for wear, and that did play out. But I just thought both of these guys are gonna struggle near the end because they're running so fast. Like they went sprinting down that beach. The cadence was super high. They were just racing flat out 4 hours into the race, or somewhere in around 4 hours. It was nuts. For me, it was a great race from Marianne Hogan. I thought she did exactly as I was kind of hoping. So I was impressed with that. Ricki, what about you? Did you catch any of the live stream, or did you just follow up on results?
I just followed up on results really because I was away. But all I know is I'm about the only person that didn't get robbed. I went into the bookies, I came out of the bookies, and I had all the money. I had all the money on the women's side, I had all the money on the men's side. So I was pretty stoked with the results. But I kind of had a feeling. I had a really good feeling that those were going to be the results on the day. It wasn't like there was going to be any massive surprises. I was very, very happy to see Anthony getting a good race. Really, really happy. I was also very happy to see Quadzilla Dimitri get the win. Ruth Croft, I knew she'd do it. And Marianne, I was super impressed with Marianne. But I had Marianne for second as well. So I nailed it on those two fronts, you know. But other than that, like, yeah, okay, Tabo had a hard day. I've seen a couple of his Instagram posts. I mean, he looked like he got the crap bet out of him. Like, I mean, he was destroyed after that race. He was like done. That's him done until I think February or March. I think next year. I think he's smashed. Just went out way too hot, way too fast. And then Dimitri's time is so far ahead of everyone else. Like, it's not even a race. It's like he was home. He had the tea. He had the coffee. He was finished. He was done. He could have had, I don't know, he could have went to bed for a while and then woke up and the race would have still been on. So I left with lots of moolah.
Happy man. Yeah, you know, Dima was only a couple of minutes behind course record, quite far into the race. I'm going to say like 7 hours into the race. And then he ended up crossing the finish line 2 minutes quicker than his time from last year. So maybe 50 something minutes off course record. So I don't know if he just took the foot off the gas or died a little bit towards the end, but I'm always so impressed whenever I see those guys, and it's the last couple of climbs in 100k or 100 miler, and they're jogging up the hill. That's like, I'm looking at that going, yeah, I can do that rested. not after 7 hours, not after 5 hours probably. So super impressive. Moving on then, next thing on the agenda here is, I guess you've all heard about the launch of Free Trails Troy. Don't get excited, Troy. Trail Runner of the Year. And some changes actually to the policy on that this year. Let me bring that up on the screen. Yeah, so here we go. New for 2023, new voting algorithm, and also they've added in selected trail media and industry professionals globally, and the Pro Trail Runners Association, and also the top 10 fantasy predictors of 2023. So that'll include people like Aid Station Fireball, Liam, who topped the charts for 2023. So what do you think about that, Troy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you know, for one, I just want to say, like, I endorse the use of the Troy acronym to highlight this event. I think it's well played, well used. Yeah, so they have 100% endorsement to continue to use Troy in the future to talk about the Trail Runner of the Year awards. But I think this is a good. Honestly, I think this is a good iteration, and moving forward, it kind of is reminiscent to me of, like, you know, what a lot of professional sports use, you know, from NBA to Major League Baseball to the National Basketball Association. It's like there's always kind of a weighted scoring. The fans always get their votes and they matter, but at the same time, it puts some of the onus on individuals in the sport that are deep in the sport, that understand what's going on, and kind of puts a little bit of a weight there. We'd be remiss to not mention Travis Longcar is going to be a part of that judging pool, and I'm not sure if there's a conflict of interest, but I think he was top 4, top 5 this year, but he's also the guy that built the platform. So, I'm not sure if he, we actually talked about it a lot on our pod. I had a pod with him, and we unpacked a lot of the things you could do to kind of get better results, which I thought was interesting. And I know it just goes to show, Liam, he's in the data. He's day in and day out providing that data on the live streams, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. And then Travis is the same way. Like they're seeing the results. They're seeing what's going on in these races, and it's showing in the leaderboard. But yeah, I mean, I think this makes sense, as opposed to giving every trail runner on the planet an equal weight in the voting. I think this will allow us to ultimately unpack who is deserving of Trail Runner of the Year.
By the way, I listened to your podcast with Travis on Monday or Tuesday. That was perfect. I had a 100-minute run to do, and I think that pod was an hour 41 or something. So yeah, it was the perfect listen. But yeah, I gotta think that if I was the developer with access to the back end, I would be running my own filters to see what people are voting on before I'd be putting in my picks. What does that say about me? I just feel like that would be like the most obvious thing to do. What are people voting on? How's this trending? Even if you're like, we're just interested in this sort of stuff anyway. So a week from now, whenever, there's been several days of Troy voting, I would just be curious if I had access to that data, who's voting for what, take away the top spots or whatever, but how many people are voting, where are the people voting from? I've went in and put in my first draft of picks, and it was certainly hard to do. So it's a head scratcher. And then Aid Station Fireball, all I got to say about Liam is great guy, but does his employer know how much time he spends looking at trail running statistics? Because he does not do that all in his spare time. That is impossible. That takes dedication to just absorb all of that type of information. But Brian, what do you think of the Ketone IQ Trail Runner of the Year?
Right. I think there should be a big asterisk on the web page that says for entertainment purposes only, because I think this is a step backwards in the attempt to identify the actual Trail Runner of the Year award. Because this is what happens when you just throw all the shit on the wall and you just see what sticks. Again, I've always thought, like, with what Debo and what we've talked about before, having sub ultra, ultra, and super in these types of award type environments are helpful to be able to parse things out, make it a more clear group of athletes that you're choosing between. Because right now, again, we've already labored this, but you're throwing every single person that runs on trails in some capacity of distance on the ballot, right? And so this doesn't help me identify Trail Runner of the Year. This will be a popularity contest. I think there'll probably be maybe 3 people on the men's side who are going to kind of battle out to see who gets more of their fans to vote, or what flavor of trail race, becomes the most popular one to pick. Anybody that's beyond 5th place, 5th through 10th, if we're going 10 deep on a ballot, nobody's, other than like Aid Station Fireball, a super nerd that actually is probably putting in any sort of effort to research it, or if they are, that's retroactive. They weren't following the season that in depth. We're not there yet from an entertainment standpoint for our sport, where people know things from a calendar year of what happened. So you're just picking 10. They say, leave it blank if you want, as to avoid maybe just throwing your favorite people down there on 7, 8, 9, 10, but I don't know. It should just have an asterisk for entertainment purposes only. That's what this is. What I would love to see is some type of, like, I don't know, first team all trail, something that actually is voted on by either other racers, coaches, people with some type of professional skin in the game, and it means something. It's something that maybe brands award bonuses for on their contracts, and it maybe takes some of the vote out of just the general fan base. So I think that would maybe be something I'd get more excited about, because I don't. It's just fun. It's just another variation of the free trail fantasy picks that we do for each event.
But I mean, I think you've kind of maybe made a point, but glossed over at the same time. This is just fun. There's nothing serious about this other than the fact that, it's like an end of year's thing that lots of people get involved in, but we're just doing it for fun. And like looking at as I said, I went through and did a first draft, and to pick 10 women, I thought was really difficult. I've got it up on the screen, the women's list, and I was down at 10 and maxed out, and it's sorted in alphabetical order. I hadn't even got down to Katie Scheid, and then I was like, oh, like here was Katie Scheid was down here, and then I looked at who was below her, like, oh, yeah, there's Ruth Croft, there's Sophia Lockley, Tony McCann, Ingrid Kasperson. So the women's one is really deep. I guess I'm labouring the point that I think it's fun, but I also think it's difficult to pick a 10. Ricki, what do you make of this trail run of the year, and are you gonna actually submit picks this time?
Yeah, I've just learned how to submit now, not to just take a screenshot and save it for my own benefit. Like, so next time I'll actually submit it. I log in and submit. But for me, as a fan of the sport, I think it's cool, right? I think it's cool that I get to pick and choose who I think is Trail Run of the Year. But at the same time, they are bringing in professionals. Yeah, they are bringing in like people from the media who are going to be like more, let's say, professional than me in picking somebody who deserves it. And then they're would say, as a fan, for me, the problem I have is like I pick 10. I pick 10 in the men, 10 in the women, and I'm really trying my best to pick like the best out of it. But little things like, because I love Zach Miller, I'm putting Zach Miller a little bit higher than, let's say, somebody else who probably had a slightly better year than them. But I'm picking Zach Miller because I'm a massive fan of his. So it is very hard to be critical of the people that you are a big fan of. But at the same time, I think it's cool and it's fun. It's fun. Like, look, when I was picking it, I was like, oh man, I got to put her there and I got to put her above her. So it is fun. It's good for the sport, and it's good for people that don't know everything about the sport as well. And these are the best of the best. You're going up against the best of the best.
Zach, because of his it's an alphabetical order. Zach's at the bottom of the list, so I didn't have him in my top, and then I got down to the bottom, and the first thing I do is click on the name to get up the results, and he only has 3 results under his name for this year. 2nd at UTMB, 6th at the Long Trail at the Worlds, and then he won Tarawera. So purely on paper, he doesn't deserve to go into the top 10 whenever I went through first draft. But again, yeah, I'm with you. A vote for Zach is a vote from the heart, maybe not from the head. If he had to come through and won UTMB, then maybe he would have been down for Trail Performance of the Year, which is this other aspect of Troy 2023. So
yeah, see, that's the problem. That's the problem I have, is they have Trail Run of the Year, and then in the same kind of thing, they have Performance of the Year, and that's where you get bogged down. That's where you get muddled up, because you put a name with a performance, and you're muddling the two of them up. You're mixing the two of them up, and then you're kind of just saying, oh well, such and such won this, and such and someone won that, and that's kind of swaying you back towards Trail Run of the Year, and then you're looking at the performance, and that's where it gets, I think, a little bit messy, because that's where I'd be looking at something like Courtney, and I was going Courtney Dauwalter, like, let's say I was picking her as female Trail Run of the Year, and then in the performance I was saying, well, you have Western States, But I had heard UTMB top, and then wait, I can't put UTMB top. I've got to put Hard Rock top, and then go, no. It doesn't go like that. It goes Performance of the Year, it goes Western States, Hard Rock, and then UTMB top, because she won those three in that order, and that's Performance of the Year. Those three races, in my opinion, is Performance of the Year. But then you straight away then throw it back to, oh, well, then nobody can compete with Courtney at Trail Run of the Year because she won all those three races. So you get a little bit muddled up because the two are so I don't know, let's say they're so similar.
Brian, hit it.
I think what you guys are saying is essentially my point here. And I think what this needs to evolve into is that this is an all-star team. This isn't an MVP award or a Troy award. I agree. The best way to do this is get rid of the ranking on this. The top 10 who get the most votes are part of this all-star team, because to me, it's kind of irrelevant, the person that gets fourth versus ninth. That's irrelevant, right? Like, all we care about who is one, and then everybody else is just part of the top 10. So get rid of the ranking, make this the 10 all-stars of the trail running professional side of the sport. But we also then need to have, I want an MVP award, something like other traditional sports have, that these athletes' careers are measured on. Like, I like that Michael Jordan has the MVP debate when we get into it and comparing them with other GOATs of different generations, right? Like, nobody's going to use this Troy award as any sort of gauge for debating GOATs because of how sloppy the voting is. So what I'm saying is, I want something to be introduced that is an MVP award that we actually agree on, and then we debate it. But it's not going to be Troy. Troy, to me, is just an all-star team. Get rid of the stack ranking on it.
Isn't the number one place the MVP?
No.
Why not?
Not in my opinion. No, not in my opinion. Not with the voting. No, do they give the MVP in any other major sport with fans?
I don't know. Isn't MVP an American thing?
I thought that's what we're talking about. Sports. Doesn't all major sporting go through the United, like through the America? What are you talking about? I'm confused.
I mean, I just want to, one thing I want to say is, like, just to preface, like, last year was the inaugural year of this, and it was a popularity contest. It was a free for all. You know, everyone could have one vote, and it turned in, I think the reason why they created this weighted system, which is similar to what you see, you know, in all-star voting in major league sports in America, is in order to add a little bit of professionalism to the voting structure, so you don't end up with the, like, well, who's number one? Oh, it's Jim Walmsley because Jim Walmsley has enough fanboys, or it's Courtney because Courtney has, well, I mean, it's hard to bet against Courtney in a year, but at the same time, like, that's what I feel like the first year turned into for this. And so it was kind of like, how do we give, for one, like Ricki mentioned, the pros a vote, because the pros know pros, and like that could also be an ego check for some of them. At the same time, you know, it's allowing media in, and then it's kind of the third tier is then just the fans. And, you know, kind of to your point, Brian, like, you know, some people do care about the rankings. I know with Ultra Runner of the Year, something that Ultra Running Magazine did based on American runners, but like, you know, for a long time, if you made the top 10 in Ultra Runner of the Year, like, that probably meant you had your inbox hit up by at least one or two brands trying to at least offer you some sort of sponsorship, whether they're paying you dollars or they're giving you free product. Like, those rankings did matter for some time, and maybe they don't have quite the same shine as they used to because of the internationalization of ultra running. And that's kind of what I think T-Roy or Trail Runner of the Year is trying to do, is like, how do we bring in more of an international pool? Because it's not just about American trail running. But I mean, to your point, I mean, I get it, but you have to start somewhere. And I think you have to start where the audience is, and then you kind of have to iterate from there. So, you know, hopefully, you know, Wolfie, in the future, this does become something that doesn't feel so much as a popularity contest, but, you know, they're iterating year after year, and, you know, hopefully it gets better over time.
Isn't free trail fantasy the shortest route for free trail to start making some money? If you could bet money on trail races.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of went into this with Travis briefly, and, you know, that's the thing I don't understand. The marketer in me is like, I agree with you, Aaron. Like, this is, you know, I was like, when do you put the paywall up? and like even if it's $1, like even if it's 50 cents, or like maybe it's a couple bucks just to be able to log in all the votes and become a member. It's a members only site. I mean, at this point you're playing for it's a sweepstake. You're like buying into a sweepstakes, and I have no idea what the ramifications are behind that. And like you said, like there's likely a lot of regulatory hoops that they're not willing to jump through right now. But I agree. I think right now the model is like, how do you get a paid sponsor to provide product and possibly, some financial compensation for running the sweepstakes, so to speak, and providing the audience. But I do think that this is a very interestingly scalable way of driving revenue. I think it's easy for us to sit here as pundits and talk about it, but I think on the back end, it's likely a lot more difficult to put it into action because we are talking about gambling. And I know that that's not as easy as just setting up a website and collecting money from people, so.
Get Paddy Power onto it. But I can bet on junior football here in Ireland. Like, I mean, junior football is like the amateur of amateur of amateur, and I can bet on it. Like, so get Paddy Power onto it. He'll sort trailer on and out.
But in Ireland and the UK, I mean, you guys have a history of being able to bet on the sports. Like, that's something that was definitely like under prohibition in America for a long time, and that veil is just starting to get lifted in being able to bet on professional sports, which is something that you guys have been able to do over there across the pond for like generations. It's a generational thing. You go to the bookies, you bet on the horses, you bet on the cricket, you bet on the football, you bet on the rugby. Like, you go and do it, like here, like we're just able, I mean, now you can do it through all kinds of apps, but it's like that curtain is just getting lifted over here. So, but yeah, I mean, Ricki, send an email, man. Like, let's get Paddy on it.
Do you guys even know what Paddy Power is?
Not a clue.
No. I mean, it is a large betting company, and it's not just Irish, although it originates from an Irish company. But yeah, just so the audience know what we're talking about. We're not talking about like some mythical Irish strength. Anyway, guys, let's move on. One of the other pieces of news to break this week, which that I'm super pumped about, is the Nnormal Kboix. I don't know. I have to wait until I hear Killian say it, and then I'll know what to repeat. That's how I learned how to pronounce the Sherag. So, Ricki, what do you think of this new modular?
If it is what they say it is, then yes, I'm very hyped for it. I'm hyped for it because it'll be interesting to see what other brands do if this shoe is as good as they say it's going to be. Like it's pretty impressive that like it's all terrain. You just slip out the insole and you've got a completely different shoe. It's 3-in-1 shoe. I'm very excited to see it. I'm not a fan of the name right now like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it with this accent. But I'm excited about this shoe.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
The Kboix.
Nailed it.
But yeah, super excited about the shoe. But need to see it. I really need to see it to believe it, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I don't think it looks particularly slick. It looks a little bit like if you took the normal off the side of it and maybe hid the studs, so like give it a flatter outsole, it looks a little bit like a shoe that you could have got away with wearing to school and not got told off by the teachers. It looks enough like a dress shoe that you get away with it. But digging into a little bit about the midsole, let me bring this up on screen. So there's 3 different midsoles. We have bouncy, there's reactive, and there is soft, I believe is the 3. That's the 3 types of out or midsole that you can swap in and out. I don't know if you're going to be able to, if you buy the shoe with the 3 of them, or you choose one that you buy it with and then you buy them as extras. In truth, they don't even know when it's going to release. They're looking 150 beta testers, I suppose you would call them, to run in a prototype shoe, and it will be then released in 2024. And we sort of know from Speedland, which is a perfect segue here, that the manufacturing process takes months and months. So if they are making, they've put a form out to get the 150 testers, and I made a note about this because they want you to sign an NDA and they want to know how many social media followers you've got as well. So that also tells you a little bit about the testing. They obviously want you to promote it. It's obviously influencer marketing led as well, which here I have no problem with. Send me the NDA, please. But so they're going to make a decision out in December. People are going to test it, what for? It has to be, even if, let's say it's 3 months, there's going to be 3 month manufacturing cycle at least. So we're probably talking a year away for that shoe.
So this is just an obvious ploy for you to get on Killian's Christmas card list. I don't know why we're talking about a shoe that's months away from development. Like this is basically like you're going to send this reel over to Nnormal and say, "Can I get one of those 150 beta testing spots, please? Pretty please. Look, I gave you guys some free publicity already." I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a shoe manufacturer, but I think anytime you try to create 3-in-1, all I keep hearing is compromise, compromise, compromise. Okay, if it could have been done before, it would have been done, right? You're not going to just adapt one shoe for 3 different types without having some type of compromise and trade-off. This is you guys are. If you guys believe this is just going to perform like 3 independently unique shoes and each one is just banging it on all aspects of what it's intended to deliver, I got a bridge to sell you guys. Again, because Killian's endorsed this, you guys are hopeful, starry-eyed, just in love with this shoe and idea. What it looks like to me is an orthopedic shoe. I've seen some old ladies walking my neighborhood, or the waitress at the Denny's diner that served me my flapjacks and cheese hash browns. This thing looks hideous. And I think what they did is they realized they weren't bringing anything new to TRE, and so they dropped something like this so it would have some sort of relevance. Well, the whole world is congregating in Austin to talk about actual shoes that have some production merit on them. So this is Troy, take over, talk. We're done wasting the segment on this shoe. Somebody.
Just hold your horses there, Troy.
Move it along.
We're not ready here. Brian's trying to put up a shield from response. First off, Nnormal are at TRE, because I see that Ali Ostrander was on her way there. They've got a group run organised. Yeah, they're not launching a shoe, but we already know that they're not a company that is going to launch seasonal shoes. And also, they've said that Nnormal's number one objective isn't performance at all costs. It's sustainability and, all of these lovely environmental things that we all love and are happy that people better and smarter than us are leading the charge with. But that's the top of their priorities. So that instead of having a race day shoe, a recovery shoe, a daily shoe, if you can slip in a midsole, and that is now your recovery shoe or your race shoe, and you can replace the outsole when it gets worn down, then they are innovating here. Yes, it might not be the performance of a perfectly molded race day shoe, but I think that's a compromise that's acceptable.
Do you remember the time Killian ran up Everest with no oxygen? And if any were watching what he was doing that time, it was like Solomon. He was with Solomon at the time, but I'm guessing he had a huge influence on the design of what was going on. And he was like running to a certain section of the mountain, and he would stop and he would pull on this overshoe that would fully integrate into the other shoe that he had on him, and he would bomb on and up another little bit, and then once again, without taking off shoes, he would put on another overshoe and put that over it, and like you're putting 3 shoes on top of one another. And like he has to be able to move well on the mountain in the snow with no oxygen up Everest, that, you know what I mean, human beings cannot do. But he was able to do it, and he had the innovation on his feet to help him do it. Like, so it definitely can be done. Yeah, there might be an odd compromise, and like that, what Aaron said, it's about sustainability, but it definitely can be done. And when you have someone like Killian at the back of it, and I'm not as big a super fan as Killian, as Aaron, but he's still Killian Jornet. He's still the best trail runner in the game, one of the best like human beings on the planet for what he can do, how sustainable he wants to do for the environment, for all that things. And I think anything that Killian puts his name to is going to work. I just truly believe the man is a genius.
Yeah, well said, Ricki. You're my guy. So, Troy, I don't know if you have seen the post by Kevin from Speedland. Did you see his Instagram post comparing
I actually have it pulled up right now.
Perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
so what's your opinion on this this Me Too desperation post from Speedland?
Yeah, like, so I love what Speedland's doing. I like the founding team behind that. I like what they're trying to accomplish. I like that it's, quality over, no compromises. I love that strategy. I think Kevin does a good job of articulating that, drop-in midsoles. This is not the first time someone's done a drop-in midsole. Like, big companies have done it. I think the difference between, a company like Nnormal and Speedland is like they don't have an MLQ, They're not saying I have to make a shoe, I have to manufacture a shoe for $25 so I can sell it at retail for $125. They're saying, like, how do I create the highest quality build and then ultimately sell it direct to the consumer to cut out the middleman, and maybe it costs $100 or $125 to build this, but I can sell it for, $250 to the consumer, and they'll appreciate the quality. And I think that's what separates, companies like Nnormal, companies like Speedland from kind of, for the most part, 99% of other footwear companies out there. I do feel like the post came off a bit salty, and I get it. He's basically, this is interesting. And I know that, like, I don't know, like, they're trying to, like, diminish what Nnormal's doing at the same time saying, like, good on you for following in our footsteps. And it just kind of felt like somewhat contrived and honestly, like, something that you send, not necessarily, you send this in an email to the Nnormal team if you want to work with them. You don't, like, splatter on social media and say, like, we did it first and we've got 4 more pieces of something and in our render that we had created as opposed to your render that only has 3 things, and look how much better our product is. It kind of felt like it missed the mark. While I understand what Kevin's intent was in trying to say, like, hey, we're like, you guys are innovating upon our innovation, we're innovating together, we're iterating together, we should be working together as small brands to carve out our own niche as opposed to working against each other. Like, I appreciate the sentiment in the actual in the verbiage in the post. But when you combine the verbiage in the post and some of the saltiness behind it with the visuals, it definitely was kind of like, I don't know, it felt salty to me. It did not feel like a collaborative effort. It felt like, don't forget about us over here at Speedland and what we're doing. And if I have to put my own hat on it, it felt like someone was a little bit afraid of the long arm of the goat, in my opinion, because Killian's got, when Killian backs something, he's got a long reach. As far as the shoe goes, and I would pronounce it the Kboix. So with the Kboix, we'll see. I have a hard time looking at it. I think I don't know how accurate the renders are because they're showing us, like, graphically designed renders. It's not the actual product. It's based on the product. But the lips on the midsoles, like, to me, that looks, and I don't know what the insert looks like inside it to enable to, like, cover up that midsole, that drop-in midsole, but it looks like a blister. It looks like a blister problem waiting to happen, in my opinion. Just from looking at that, and like I said, I'm talking about renders here, so we don't know what we're actually going to get in the market. I kind of like the design of the shoe, honestly. The outer, like, it reminds me of like if you smooth out the lugs, like, you could go do kickflips in that thing, which I think is kind of cool. It kind of has, like, more of a skateboard feel. The retro Airwalks and Vans from back in the day, or DC shoes, as opposed to, like, what we see with modern trail running footwear. So I'm not opposed to the way the upper and the outer looks like, but I am interested to see, how does this drop in midsole play? And Aaron, to your point with the sustainability tip, I didn't even think, like, if you can retool the outsole and you have these 3 midsoles, and now all of a sudden you can swap out the midsoles for these different things. Now you have one shoe that can take you, 1,500 miles as opposed to one shoe that can take you 500 miles. So,
I mean, it's not even the mileage, it's just different uses, because you might have a race shoe that does very few miles.
but that's to the durability though. Like you have the recovery shoe, so you put in one insole because you're going to go do recovery miles. You do one insole that's like that you're going to do because it's really good and responsive. So you do your workouts in that shoe, and then you have the other one because it's like really soft and bouncy, and you're going to take that and go do your 100-mile races in it. And all of a sudden now you literally have one shoe in your quiver with 3 different midsoles. And if it's really easy to get a new vibrant tread put on the outside of it before you wear through it, you can take the lifespan of that farther. And from a sustainability standpoint, that's the gold standard right now. If you can make something last longer, it's better for the environment. So
it's just a fucking marketing ploy.
Kboix.
Do you think Nnormal wants you to just buy this one shoe? They're going to stop making the other two then, right? Because this is the one. If it has all of the things you're touting, then let's just shut down the factory, boys. This is the one. But no, we're going to still offer the full lineup, and we're going to bring new models to market. And we want you to have all of the offerings, fill your quiver with everything that Nnormal offers. So the sustainability piece goes straight down the toilet when we know every runner is going to add this because they're a Killian fanboy, and every other Nnormal product that comes to market, not to mention if we're shoe fanboys, we're going to have multiple shoes. So the sustainability of the shoe is void the minute you bring any other shoe into your household. This is not just one shoe and let's just stop creating anything new. So it's a fucking marketing ploy. It's greenwashing the sustainability and putting in this sort of Swiss Army knife of nothing but a fucking spoon and a fork. It's got no sharp edge to this thing. There's no bite to this shoe. It has no practicality. It's just join the Killian fanboy club, jump on the bandwagon, and here we are. So fire me up, boys. This is all you have to do.
I just really quickly, Aaron, I just want to add, like, this type of marketing and this type of product creation is what turned Patagonia into something that was product built in Yvon Chardin's tin shed, and now is a $300 million company.
Nothing like that.
And no, it totally is, because their whole thing is like buy less. They're specifically telling you, I want to create a product that serves multiple purposes. I want you to buy less. I want you to repair what we have. I want you to make what you buy last longer. And at the end of the day, that's been the number one driver of growth for their organization. And that's the playbook that Killian's looking at when he's looking at, like, how do I grow Nnormal in a sustainable way? And I totally hear what you're saying. Like, no one's just Wolf. Like, no one's going to have one shoe. What this does is mean that, like, you're buying 2 shoes a year as opposed to 8. You're buying 3 shoes. You're buying less shoes over time, and less shoes over time is the whole model. That's Killian. That's the Nnormal model of product creation. Is less is more. So,
but Wolfie, isn't that what Norda are doing? Like, you're the Norda fanboy. Norda are telling you can do 2,000 miles in their shoe, so you only buy one pair of shoes. How many pairs of Norda have you got? I guarantee you more than one. I guarantee you more than one.
Absolutely. But what I'm telling you is that the Norda lineup of shoes are uniquely brought to market with a specific purpose. That 001 and 002 that's at market now, and the 003 that I'm sure we'll talk about later, have a specific, unique use case. Correct. They didn't come to market and say, here's one shoe that we're going to blend all 3 of these together in and know that it's a piece of shit.
They haven't done it yet.
And they'll make me a hypocrite when they do, but I doubt they're doing it. Let's put it that way. I don't think the barn up in Canada is stewing over how to make this copycat shoe. Trust me.
So the thing is, there's so many things to come back here on. First off, Wolfie, if we weren't doing this digitally, I give you a hug, man, because you got to remember that we don't have to be at opposite ends of a spectrum. It's a spectrum, and things in real life are somewhere around here, not there or there.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Some of what you said is aspects of believability, truth, possible. But also the reality is I have a pair of Sherag that I ran 900k in, and if I had been wearing another brand of shoe, not going to mention that brand because of present company or whatever, but if I was wearing certain other shoes, I would have went through 4 or 5 shoes in 900k. So in the case of one, I bought less shoes because I was running in normal. And on Ricky's point about the Norda,
That doesn't prove shit, though. That's not my point.
Well, the point is less shoes. I have less shoes because I'm running in normal.
But you're gonna have to buy this one.
I bought less shoes. Yeah, but that's a different point. So don't try and like trip me up on that one. And on the
I'm
Norda
not arguing
thing,
the sustainability of the other two models and how they're leaps and bounds better than the other. I've never made that. Don't put different types of spins on my comments. And that's why I got to come in hot to balance your, fanboy and superlatives that you lace on Norda or on Nnormal and Killian. So yeah,
it's the voice of reason.
I provide the balance.
You provide the balance only whenever we're over at the far other end of the scale.
Exactly.
So on the Norda front, good point, Ricki and Brian. I think your response of saying the 001, 002, 003, that's a mouthful. But I think that response is disingenuous because Ricky's probably talking about how many different colorways of the 001 do you own? Like how many pairs of Norda shoes do you have in total?
Tell the truth.
When am I sitting here stating that I'm not a fan of shoes? I haven't made that argument. I'm not defending myself. I'm just saying, let's be honest. The market the person that's gonna buy this shoe is gonna have the same type of quiver of shoes that I have. Sorry, we're talking about a very specific type of person that's gonna buy this shoe, and they're gonna afford to have a full closet filled with other shoes.
We're not talking about one specific type of person. What you're saying is there is a type of person, and that type of person does exist and may well do what you're saying, but that is not every person that's going to own a normal shoe. There's lots of people that will own
the majority.
I only own 2 running shoes right now. I own a pair of road shoes, and I own a pair of trail shoes. But I'm also, like I said, if Wolfie's on this end of the spectrum, I'm definitely the guy on this end of the spectrum. You know what I mean? So
that's true. But Troy, I mean, we should get you a pair of normal shoes. Let's start a GoFundMe to move Troy away from Ultra and get him some proper shoes.
Well, I got a pair of Norda. I will say I own a pair of 001s, and I'm very impressed with those shoes. And I think, because of the quality of the build and the amount of miles I've been able to get out of the pair I have, I'm looking at the 002s because I'm like, oh, these are a little bit different, and I'd like to see what they feel like. I'm interested in the normal lineup. I'm definitely moving away from Ultra. I'm trying to find a good road shoe.
Yeah, last take, I would say, let's take away all the things we said, right? But let's say in the real world, shoes are mad expensive, right? And I don't know how much this shoe is going to cost. It probably will be very expensive. But let's say it wasn't crazy expensive. Most people would buy that shoe if I told them that shoe will do all the runs you need to do. That will do all the runs you need to do for the next 12 months of your training. Or let's say even 6 months of your training. I think that's a fantastic thing to be able to tell somebody that's the only shoe you're going to need. For that whole training block you're doing for your next race, that's the only shoe you're going to need. I've got a shed full of Hokas, and I have to go into the room, and I'm very lucky. I get them for free, right? But I have to go, oh, well, I'm doing this run today, so I've got to pick that shoe. I'm doing this run today, so I've got to pick this shoe, and then I've got a race shoe. If you were telling one person that only had a certain amount of money to spend, that's the only shoe you're going to need for 6 months. I think that's fantastic. I think that's a brilliant thing going forward in the sport of running.
And that's if it works for you.
Shut up.
Rubbish.
Okay, guys, look, we're fast approaching 1 hour, and we want to squeeze in something to make Brian's heart feel lovely and warm and squishy. And Brian, why don't you tell us about Norda's launch of the 003? And first off, what I'll say is I've only seen the pictures of it. They did have shoes in Chamonix at UTMB. I wasn't at the event for it, but I did speak to people that were there, and they were saying that the shoe has turned out better than they imagined it would, and it's like a gravel bike type of shoe. I know Kraft sort of coined this term nearly with trail shoes, but what do we need to know about the 3?
I know they're doing an event to kind of celebrate the launch, and they're ascending a mountain out there, I believe in the region in Canada. So, I mean, I think everybody thought it was going to be just kind of a travel shoe when you're going to these WTM events all over the world and traveling for 28 hours with 7 connector flights and a bus and a ship. You got to have a nice slip on, right? So I think that's where the direction was, but I think it's much more capable of a shoe, even though it's laceless model. So yeah, I don't know how it performs in a running or hiking or scrambling type of environment. But I just know that if it's, the same guys that brought out 001 and 002, it's going to be able to do what it's intended to do, which Norda is very specific and committed to.
So you're telling me that they were destined to release a $300 travel slipper?
No, I'm saying I think when you see a laceless shoe, you think this thing's got to just be for, TSA checkpoint efficiency, not because you're trying to run 100 miles in it. But it seems like it's much more technically capable than you would initially think. So
the only other shoe that I've seen that looks like that is that shoe that Naked released, and all of the reviews from that shoe, which was again expensive, laceless. It was a nightmare to get on, and it was super uncomfortable. But I'm hearing great things about the Norda shoe. Although I'm not sold on how it looks. I think it looks a little bit special shoe. I get the feeling it probably looks better in person. So I am kind of interested to see it.
I'm sure we'll see you walking your dogs in your Gold Core, in London with that 003 soon enough. So.
I don't know.
That's the problem I have with that shoe. Is that shoe looks like a shoe that a person with too much money would buy, because it's not a running looking shoe. It looks like a shoe that you'd walk your dog in and say, "Oh, I wear a pair of Norda." I think that's what it looks like. But I'm a fan of Norda, right? I think they do really cool things. I love the 001. Like, I've got a pair in black Dyneema. I love it. It's such a cool shoe. And it's a super durable shoe, and it's a really good race day shoe, training shoe. But I want to ask you, Brian, do you actually think it's going to be a good shoe? Because it's got no laces in it. So if the fit isn't really dialed in, it's going to be shit. If you hit technical stuff, you're going to roll your ankle all day long. You're probably going to get blisters because your foot's going to be moving up and down. It's just one of them where you cannot buy this shoe unless you try this shoe on. You cannot buy it.
I think there's potential for Norda making a good laceless shoe, because there's no stretch in the upper of the 001. So if you think that there's no stretch in that piece, and they just replaced that bit where the laces have been removed from with something that's like very tightly stretched, then you can imagine that that's the movable piece of the shoe, and you could slide it on, and it would work okay. And I'm saying it's not for technical terrain. It's more like dirt road type of running, from what I can hear. So, or East London with your lurcher. But I mean, maybe both. What do you think of it, Troy? Have you had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, so I saw the renders. I mean, interesting concept. I like to use it, like what you said, Aaron, the Naked shoe. I mean, I think there was some hype around it, and it just fell really, really, really flat. Like, just wasn't able to kind of live up to the expectation. And I think the one thing Norda has for them is like they actually make shoes. So it's like this is not like a running accessory company trying to create a new category for themselves so they can sell more product into the trail running category. This is like a running company making a specific shoe for a specific purpose. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not buying a laceless shoe to go running in. It's just not my bag, you know. Like I'm like keen on some BOA dials maybe, but at the same time, like that's still like a fit system, you know. I don't know if spandex qualifies as a fit system for me, but we'll see. I mean, like it does look like something you could go tool around on some gravel roads and not kill yourself, you know. But you know, I'm not necessarily convinced. I'm interested to see what the price. If it doesn't have laces, does it mean it can be $100 cheaper? Because maybe I'll buy it then, you know. So.
I mean, that's the thing. We're going to find out the actual monetary value of Norda laces because they're going to be removed. So this shoe's potentially cheaper. Who knows? Brian, you get the last take on this.
Yeah, I mean, you guys keep making these comparisons to the naked shoe. The naked shoe was brought to market with the promise of being a high performance shoe. This was going to be, you know, your race day shoe. This was going to be the elite's shoe of choice that were sponsored by Naked. This is not the same thing that Norda is communicating now with the 003. So stop trying to, again, compare it to the only other laceless shoe to market. That's completely unfair, disingenuous of what anything Norda representatives have tried to claim about this shoe. I haven't seen any pictures of the elites wearing this with their races lately. Again, it's got a specific, probably narrow use case, and Norda has made their reputation on zigging when the market zags. And they, I think, have ascended as a startup shoe company without any celebrity endorsements a la Killian, right? They didn't just ascend on the back of somebody who's the GOAT of the industry with over 100,000 plus social media followers. They've done it, grassroots from the community, word of mouth, and how freaking cool and dope everything they pump out is. So again, we'll wait to see, because I haven't even put it on foot to see what it is and what it's about. But yeah, other than that, I think that's everything I got to say on that.
All right. Well, I mean, first off, I think Killian has over 1 million followers. And second thing, I wouldn't dare call someone like Killian a celebrity, because
he's a trail celebrity. Oh my
his
God.
celebrity
How dare
only
you.
comes
The guy
because
makes tons of content. The guy is one of the best content creators in the trail running sport and industry. He transcends himself as an athlete. He's
Those
a
are
celebrity
definition
now.
of a celebrity.
Those are stories.
Yeah, he's a
Wolfie.
celebrity.
Those are stories.
He's a celebrity. Definitely not stories.
I'm walking
Definitely
away.
not stories.
You upset him. He's gone.
I know.
He's
I said,
gone.
Aaron just walked away, man.
So, I mean, on our
Consider this is a victory. I've been waiting to get him to walk off screen. So good job.
So we're coming up on an hour here, so let's keep this short and sweet on the next one. But I'm interested. I mean, since you brought up Gorpcore and walking dogs and all of this type of thing, what do we think of the Satisfy Clifton? Brian, have you been running in yours? I've been walking my Lurcher in mine. No running has been done yet.
I think it's a good looking shoe. I think for what the bump in price was over the base Clifton LS and the modifications they made to it, I have no problems with it. I think that some people got a little bit too triggered by them bumping the price, comparing it to the basic Clifton 9, and you know, we're getting upset, but nothing controversial here. It's a good looking shoe, and they've made some good aesthetic modifications to it. So right on, rock and roll.
I now have 4 active pairs of Clifton, and only one of them are running Cliftons, and I just picked up a pair of brown suede Clifton L's, and it was my only Black Friday purchase, and I picked them up for 75 quid. What a bargain. So I'll let you see them when they come. But I was bringing Satisfy into the equation here for is, we had their Hoka collab, we've had their recent Osprey backpack collab. Everything that they're doing seems to be bump the price up, stick your name on it, make minimal changes, make zero innovation. So what are they going to do next? Are they going to actually make something new? Or are they going to do another collab? Who's next? Who wants to go first?
Kevin is next. Kevin from Speedland just wants to collaborate with everyone at the minute. So I think he's going to jump on the Spotify. I think he'll probably tell me invented T-shirts as well or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think in fitting with Satisfy's like cool hype beast mode culture, you know, running culture, punk rock culture, LA culture. I think the next collab is going to be with Janji and the multi-pass pack that Janji does. So it'll be a Satisfy Janji, like whatever they call it, the sling bag that they make. So that's my. Oh, he's grabbing his. I just ordered one for Black Friday too. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. So there'll be a Satisfy Janji sling bag collab. That's mark my words, guys. Buy stock in it. It's gonna come.
I want to see Satisfy and Gingy, because I want to make toe socks cool again. And I think Satisfy could do something cool with Gingy. Second one, I think we all want to see it. We all want to see it. Satisfy Orange Mud. If anybody can take Orange Mud and turn it into something cool that these Gorpcore kids would use, it's Satisfy. So can we just get Bryce here and get him the Satisfy Orange Mud collab now? We need it.
Ricki, anything from you?
I don't know, because I'm new to Satisfy. It's because of you, Aaron. I know who Satisfy Running is. And my introduction to Satisfy was seeing you eat your own T-shirt in a race. And I was like going, I do not understand this company. They have a shirt called the Moth shirt that's full of fucking holes. And you pay about $400 for this shirt that disintegrates. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I like stuff that works. I don't need to look cool going to the coffee shop after my run. I look cool in the coffee shop after my run because I just did a run.
Well, you don't have to look cool in the coffee shop after your run because there's no one in fucking Leitrim to see you, so...
Somehow I knew that was coming.
We'll stick my my disintegrated Moth Tech T-shirt up on the screen for those to see. That was the result of 80k of the Swiss Alps 100 miler. It has not been worse since.
Sustainability, my hole.
It's perfect sustainability. They disappear. You don't have to worry about redonating it or something. It just goes back into the atmosphere. It's gone.
Yeah,
vaporizes.
True. Organic cotton back to the earth. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's wrap it at that. Great conversations. Good hot takes. A bit of spice. Appreciate it. That's 5 in the bank. So we'll see you next week for episode 6. Peace. Thanks for making it to the end of the show. We appreciate it. Head down to the comments. Let us know about your picks. How did you do in Fantasy Fruit Trail? Did you beat me in 5th? It's going to be hard to top that. Certainly can't top it this year. There's no more races left in Fantasy. Also, what do you think of the Nnormal Kboix? What do you think of the Norda 003 laceless jobby? Is it cool? Is it Gorpcore? Is it the gravel bike shoe? We're going to find out soon enough, I think. Anyway, guys, smash that like, hit the subscribe, share it with a friend, do all that stuff that helps us get the word out about Trail Talk. See you in the next one. Peace.